Well, in the case like I just talked about with this young man, you've got to have an investigator, social worker, people that can help you get records and really look into the background of clients and find out what their story is. So it's really important to be able to protect the rights of your client and to be able to tell their story, to have the resources to be able to dig into their backgrounds and have those resources to present to the court on their behalf.
The resources include not only just attorneys in court. Obviously, clients need lawyers, and the lawyers need to be competent. They need to have the skills that it takes to represent individuals with these special needs. So the attorneys need to be trained. We need resources to pay the lawyers, to keep them focused and interested in this type of work, because it's very difficult work, it's very demanding work. But in addition to lawyers, we also need support staff, we need investigators, we need people that can help us as lawyers to look beyond the cases in the courtroom, to find witnesses, find individuals who can tell us and assist us in determining the underlying facts about what may or may not happened. So often we have clients that are not guilty of everything they're accused of, and we have clients that are just flat out not guilty. And we can't prove that in court. We can't assist them in keeping them from being incarcerated if we can't find and uncover evidence that proves their innocence. In addition, often we have clients that are in need of showing the court and showing the district attorneys and the judges something about the circumstances that led them to the situation in the first place. Those factors include factors such as being abused themselves, such as growing up in poverty, perhaps having mental illness, having family members that have abandoned them. We need to be able to give the court some insight about our clients' backgrounds in order to help the court to fully assess what our clients might need if they are convicted, or if there is going to be some plea bargain about what actually the client is or should be found guilty of versus what the client is charged with.
The prosecution has all of those resources. They've got investigators, they've got experts. They basically have an unlimited means to put a case together against somebody, and they've got the time to do it. The thing that's important for people who are representing the accused is to be able to meet that equally and fairly, not only in terms of time and how much you're able to give to each one of the cases you have and you've taken on, but also the resources in terms of being able to retain experts who can provide evidence for the defense, just like the state has experts that provide evidence for them.
Public defenders need resources because I've seen firsthand where there's a huge disparity in counties that are more rural as opposed to counties that have a larger population and therefore more resources. When I originally started off, I was in Hoke County, and when defendants were put in jail on a bond, the only recourse for me as their attorney was to make a motion for bond reduction. If it was not consented to by the prosecutor, have it before the judge for a hearing. If the judge then denied it, there were really no recourses. The client would sit in custody until their case was resolved. In Cumberland County, we've got pretrial release, a whole department that is dedicated to looking at individuals' resources, providing them with ankle monitoring if needed, but there's generally a lot more avenues to pursue pretrial release for clients in more populated areas.
And so when I came into the public defender's office, the very unique thing about our public defender's office is that every single attorney in our office was actually in private practice before they came together. And so every single attorney knows what knows what a retained client expects, and that is the type of representation that we give our public defender clients. I think it's very important. I do not think that it should be based on how much money you make as to whether or not you get a good representation. And I have made it also my mission as a public defender and now in a supervisory role in our office. I want to change the stereotype that public defenders have.
So for me, I feel like the pendulum is kind of swung pretty strong towards the prosecution and law enforcement, and so it's kind of out of whack. And so I feel like that there is a huge possibility and a lot of realities where people are being forced into plea deals, they're being convicted on cases where they were not guilty, or just because there's so much work done on one side and so little done on the defense side. So for me, I think it's important that the defense needs to be able to do their own investigation and look at what the police are doing rather than just taking it as fact.
And I think the biggest thing that I've seen is that when you're defending somebody and they are innocent, they have not committed the crime, which they're accused of, and it's a serious crime, what that means is that there's someone out there who did commit that crime, who is probably still committing those crimes. And if you don't have the resources to say, look, this is what happened and it's not this person that you think it is, you need to keep looking, then there's a problem there.
The Public Defender's Office needs resources to help our clients because, one, I consider myself to be a shield, if you will. The DAs I see as being the sword. And every day in going to court, and I go to court every day, it's like a battle. And you're battling over the fate of your client. And the DA's office has a lot of resources at their disposal. They have the whole police force who's already done a lot of the charging. They were there. So it is incredibly important to have an investigatory team of investigators who can go out and find out this information. If there's any additional witnesses that my client has that's not listed with the police, because in district court particularly, there is no right to discovery. So if I have an investigator who can go out and find out this information ahead of time, that helps me tremendously. And unfortunately, that costs money to pay in salaries. And I know in our office, I think we have about 14 to 16 attorneys, but we have 2 investigators. So sometimes it can be tough. We're kind of behind the 8 ball sometimes compared to what all the DAs have at their disposal. But we do what we can, and I think certainly us being there and having what we have at least gives us some chance, whereas before, if we were not there, they would have very little to none. I will say this too, I've been very fortunate in Cumberland County to work with people who have vast amounts of experience, and it's really very helpful and comforting to know that you've got a resource in your office of these people with their vast amounts of experience and knowledge, because the way you would go about a case personally that I may approach it, there's 4 other people in my office who can give me ideas and who I can brainstorm with on how to approach it in a different manner, all of which benefits my client.